Coming up on this episode of Perfect Game Retirement, we're going to talk about the power of delayed gratification. Sometimes it's hard to make financial sacrifices when the reward might not be seen until several years in the future, which is often the case in retirement planning. So today we're going to talk about some of the situations where you might actually be inclined to take the immediate benefit when you should actually really consider the delayed rewards. That's coming up.
Welcome to the Perfect Game Retirement Podcast with former professional baseball player and now financial coach at Black Oak Asset Management, Ryan Ledman. This show will help you make the right financial decisions so you can pitch a perfect game in retirement. Here's the windup and the delivery.
Glad to have you inside Perfect Game Retirement. I'm Ben George with Ryan Ledman, Black Oak Asset Management. Ryan, getting ready for the holidays. How are you?
That's right. Yeah, getting ready for them. I guess when everyone listens to this, it'll be the new year. But we're knocking on Christmas's doorstep as the recording of this. So, but yeah, great time of year. Again, kids are still in the fun age of middle schoolers, so they're starting to kind of recognize and know what's going on. But Still got an elementary school kid, so he's still hanging on.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a fun time. A four-year-old daughter for us, obviously, is right in the thick of the enjoyment and the magic and all that. So we're looking forward to it as well. It's you guys going to have a busy kind of end of the year. It's weird with Christmas falling on a Monday this year. That short week afterwards already not productive for a lot of people. But will you guys be in the office that final week and getting after it?
Yeah, I always carve off probably 2-3 days of that week because, again, there's always going to be something that pops up. There's not a ton of year-end things that we need to finish up. I always tell people, like, our year kind of coincides with tax season. Nowhere near as busy as tax preparers. Nowhere close. But there are a lot of things where people, again, New Year's resolutions, want to start doing this, want to start doing that. Where's my tax forms? Blah, blah, blah. So it does coincide a lot with that. But I would say our calendar year is still a little bit more steady and consistent throughout the year, whereas, CPAs' lives are, you don't really know who they are for about 3.5 months. But for us, year-end stuff, there's a couple things here or there, but IRA contributions, those can be done later. I guess the biggest thing is in retirement plans, getting their contributions in, and as well as any Roth conversions. Those have to be done by the end of the year.
Yeah. And you're looking forward to 2024. I'm sure you guys have a lot planned. It's been a busy year, I know already, but a lot to look forward to in the new year, right?
Yeah, it's a new start, kind of fresh start. I mean, there's some inner workings behind the scenes here from, we have a couple of advisors doing some new things. Don't really want to announce and say officially what they are yet, but they're continuing and to get better, just like I did this past year with my CFP designation and getting that, which is great. Glad that's over with, but hey, how can we leverage that? How can we market that? And then I got a couple other advisors who are taking coursework and certifications to just expand what we do. We're trying to be an all-encompassing shop where they don't have to go anywhere else, from even getting their wills done to getting their taxes done. We want to try to keep that all in-house, and that was kind of my 5-year vision a few years ago to get to that point. So we're getting there, but 24 definitely, looks good. There's a lot, it's an election year, so a lot of people want to know what's going on there because elections do have an impact on the markets. But it's mostly emotional based, just like the Federal Reserve. I was looking at the stock market as we were recording this. It shot up yesterday just because of what the Fed announced, saying, we're going to hold steady and maybe even have decreases in 2024. So, everybody wants to throw a ticker tape parade and think, all is well, so the market shoots up. So anyway, that's part of our job is behavior management.
Yeah, very good. Well, a lot to look forward to. And if you need help with anything within your financial planning needs or retirement planning, estate planning, any of this, you can always log on. blackoakam.com is the website. There you'll find the chance to schedule your Retirement Coach 360 session. Plus, get access to the tools and resources that Ryan and his team offer there as well. Again, blackoakam.com. Today, though, we're talking about patience and the power of delayed gratification. This is a great conversation, Ryan, right? This is something you try to instill in like your kids when they're younger, right? It's more beneficial to wait on a lot of things because the reward's much greater. But even as adults, we still drop the ball on this quite a bit.
Yeah, it's a constant fight, and it's never going to get easier, just because of the more and more we have quicker gratification on the things that we do, and I'm guilty of it. Everyone's guilty of it, but it's getting harder and harder to teach and educate people of this delayed gratification. People know it's there. They realize it. They acknowledge it. Say, okay, I get it. Compound interest, time value of money. Put it in there and forget it. But again, I've read books on behavior finance, and again, the part of your brain that registers for delayed gratification of, okay, I see myself in retirement, retiring with this and doing this and having this much money. The brain doesn't connect that is you. It connects it like it's another person. So it's harder than you think. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, put money in 401k, get the match. I get that, I understand that. But it's harder to actually do. But the good thing is, once it's started and implemented, that's the hard part. The easy part is just continuing to let it grow and build.
Yeah, so that's kind of the first item here on the list as we run through these situations, is just that 401k match, taking advantage. I know the holidays too, as we're getting out of that, it's a time where it's easy to say, let me just not contribute this month, turn that off, just get the extra money to pay for bills or, take care of gifts, or maybe even give to charity. But it's just a slippery slope, because once you do it once, it's easy to kind of justify continuing to do it again in the future.
Yeah, I mean, the 401k match is the biggest no-brainer when it comes to investing to take advantage of. You got to capture the full match. I mean, if it's a safe harbor 401k, which means if you put in 5, they put in 4. I've seen higher matches than that. I've seen lower matches than that. But the employer offers a match. If they do, great. If they don't, you have no control what the match is. But please, 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 you have to take advantage of that. And if that's all you can go up to and stop, that's fine. So if you're putting in 5 and they're putting in 4, well, there's 9% right there. Okay, that's a great job in doing that. But even if you don't have a match, it's so funny. Some people are like, "Well, there's no match. I'm not going to put money in my 401k." But it's still for you. It's still your retirement. If you're not doing that, what are you doing? Are you not doing anything? Are you just going to throw your hands up and go, I'm not getting a match, so I'm not saving? Mm-hmm. I don't understand that rationale behind it, because that money is still for you. A match may have a vesting schedule on it. So if you leave a job, you may have to give some of that match back, whether you realize it or not. So that goes right back into the what they call forfeitures. Like, you're forfeiting a certain amount of match, so it goes back into the 401k to the company, and then they distribute those forfeitures out. So, but you got to take advantage of it. It's a no-brainer. You won't miss the 2% or 3% or 4% that you think you need to make bills work. You won't. And one other thing I would encourage, if you have that automatic increased savings, that most 401ks have that auto, on a year anniversary, mm-hmm. It goes up 1 percentage point. Please do that. Please, please, please do that. Most people don't have the discipline. I'll go back and do it later. I'll increase it next year.
Yeah.
Chances are you won't. And that 1%, you will not feel it, because you may get a cost of living raise, and then boom, that 1% goes up. So you won't even realize it. So please set it to that if you have that as an option in your 401k.
Absolutely. All right, that's the first scenario where people often take the immediate gratification. Here's another one, Ryan, the tax-deferred accounts that we put money into. And you might say, well, that's a good thing, right, putting money into these tax-deferred accounts. But the reason why you're taking kind of the immediate benefit is you get the tax break that year. So it lowers your taxes in many cases for that year. But when you look out into the future, that money that you're giving up now, could come back to haunt you a little bit down the road in retirement, right?
Absolutely, because if you have, that's all you have is, maybe a pension, small pension, maybe no pension, Social Security, and then whatever you've saved. So you have this big pot of money that has never been taxed before. And I get it. The old rationale was, hey, I'm going to put it in, in a tax-deferred pre-tax account while I'm in a higher tax bracket, and then take it out when I'm in a lower tax bracket, which makes 100% absolute sense. But again, these tax rates are so low right now that that's generally not the case. And if you are, you're not in a much lower tax bracket. However, again, we've talked about this on the show before. It affects your Social Security taxation in retirement, but it also affects your Medicare premiums in retirement. So I'm not saying you have to save every penny into a tax-free account, whether it's a Roth or something like that, or a Roth 401k. But you do need to have a bucket of money that is not going to add to your taxable income one day, that you have options. So it's the IRS sees you as a taxable income entity, and not income, but taxable income. So if you have income coming out of a Roth IRA, then it's not taxed, which saves money on your Medicare premiums, and it saves money on your Social Security taxation potentially. So just because you're putting in pre-tax today doesn't really mean you're getting the big bang for your buck that we thought. Now, here's the caveat: if tax rates go up for especially high income earners, which obviously they're higher now, but if they go up to those 60, 70, 80% that they used to have been, okay, then we got an argument of, all right, let's put it in pre-tax, because that's a boatload of savings. And there's a very good chance you will not be in a 60 or 70% tax bracket when you do retire. So it's something you got to look at each year, but just getting the pre-tax savings now may not be as big a benefit as you think.
Yep, definitely something to consider and to talk with a financial advisor about, to make sure that you are getting the most out of these contributions and the savings that you do. Now, speaking of savings, got one here that's important to keep in mind, and this is a very much a immediate gratification kind of a thing. But your emergency fund, hopefully you have one in place and you built it up. But that money's sitting there, Ryan. That liquid is just there, and it's easy to say, all right, I got an expense. Maybe I have something that popped up, or maybe I want to spend a little money on something that's not an emergency, right? That I can kind of justify, okay, I'll fill that emergency fund back up in the coming months, right? But it can be very dangerous to tap into that when it's not truly something you need it for.
Yeah, an emergency fund you have to be disciplined enough to know that that's what it is for, an emergency. And again, getting new tires on your car or something like that, that's not an emergency. That's where you just have to keep cash in your checking account. But the emergency fund, it at all costs, you try to keep that there. Maybe earn a little bit of interest. That's one of the biggest questions I get right now with interest rates being higher is, okay, I'm getting hardly anything in my savings account for my emergency fund. Okay, I get it, but I want you to have money where you can click a button and that money is in your checking account. That is what an emergency is for, when you need something at a drop of a hat. Anything above and beyond, a few months, then if you still want some safe money, okay, look at a money market account or a money market mutual fund somewhere else. But, I was recently listening to a book called The Psychology of Money, which it's pretty nerdy from a finance standpoint, but it's interesting on the rationale and the mind behind making decisions. And one of the quotes in the book from the author was, cash is the oxygen of independence. And I'm like, that's fantastic. I'm going to completely steal that. Sorry, I don't have the author in front of me, but Psychology of Money is the name of the book. Great book. I enjoyed it. May not be for everyone, but I enjoyed it. But cash is the oxygen of independence. I'm like, that's fantastic, because when you have cash, and it may not be earning a whole lot, it may not be earning anything, but when you have cash sitting on the sidelines, you don't freak out, you don't panic, you have a peace of mind. And if you need to deplete some of that emergency fund, you have to make that a number one priority. Stop investing. Do whatever you have to do to replenish that emergency fund, because it is a huge peace of mind, and it just gives you options and choices when you have cash sitting there.
Yeah, it's so easy to look at that and say, I can tap into this a little bit and take care of what I need to right now, but it could save you a lot of stress down the road potentially. We're talking about delayed gratification. Again, if you have questions for Ryan about any of these topics we talk about, 401k match, tax deferred accounts, and then Social Security, which we're about to get into, log on blackoakam.com. You can schedule a time to meet with Ryan there, or just give him a call at 470-508-0508. So Social Security, this is one that immediately comes to mind, I think, when you think of delayed gratification and retirement planning, because so many people just think, I need to turn this thing on at 62, take it as early as I can, start getting that check coming in, claim that benefit. But Ryan, we've talked about it before. Oftentimes, your best strategy might be waiting.
Yeah, and that's obviously not blanket advice, but generally it is. I mean, especially with the husband-wife situation, and now, if it's just your own, if it's just you, then the decision becomes a little easier. Still delaying it's probably best, because you get those delayed credits that the Social Security Administration is offering when they do give a cost of living adjustment that, 3.2% or 8.7 or 5.4% cost of living increase on a higher amount just continues to increase even more. So, and there's different studies on the exact math of it, and it's a little bit of a moving target because the COLA, the cost of living adjustment, changes so much each year, and obviously it's spiked and been a little bit higher. But generally speaking, if the difference between claiming at 62 and 70, obviously the earliest and the latest you can claim Social Security, the difference between those two is the break even is around 80 or 80 plus, 80 years of age plus. Not quite to 81. I've read different studies where they come up with a little bit different math, so don't quote me on it. But meaning if you wait till 70 as opposed to claiming it at 62 and you live 80 or beyond, then you've kind of quote unquote beat the system. You're getting more money out from every check that you get beyond 80 plus. You're benefiting more. Now, obviously, we're not guaranteed tomorrow. We don't know. So it's an educated answer. It's an educated decision. It's not an exact science, but yeah, if you die before the age of 80, okay, then you don't benefit from delaying to 70. You benefited from taking it at 62. But don't ever claim it because of you think it's going away. That's the worst reason to make a decision on Social Security. But again, going back to husband, wife, that's a legacy planning standpoint thing too, especially if you have one spouse who was a much higher wage earner versus the other. The higher of the two, when one person passes away, the higher of the two benefits continue on with that spouse, no matter who continues on, whether it is the higher wage earner or not. So that's where you have to really think about, okay, if I'm claiming at 62, that may be kind of hamstringing that person you leave behind from an income standpoint. But if you absolutely need it, different story. But if you claim it early, there's all these income restrictions on it too. If you're still working and you're claiming it before full retirement age, again, that's a whole nother episode just in itself. You pay an extra penalty on it. Anyway, so it's a case-by-case basis, but if you're generally speaking, if you're healthy and you don't need the income on it yet, keep kicking that down the road until they completely change and modify Social Security. That's kind of the strategy that we kind of advise our clients to do.
Okay, very good. Let's close out with one more then, and we've been focusing on the financial side of things. Let's talk about health. It's easy for someone to take the immediate benefit of not going to the doctor because of the time it takes, or maybe the expenses that you maybe think are unnecessary because you feel good. But investing in these regular health checkups and preventative care can really help stem some bigger issues in the future, and obviously with that come higher medical costs as well.
Yeah, this is this is a little bit of a double-edged sword here because and the reason why I want to talk about this particular topic is because I'm probably the worst at it. I cannot remember the last time I've been to a physician. I'm in my mid-40s right now, so do as I say, not as I do, right, kind of thing. But maybe this is provoking me to do it because I've already started to look at primary care physicians in the area. It's just time that I need to do that. And luckily, knock on wood, I've, to my knowledge, still a pretty healthy guy. Still have old injuries that are still lingering, but from a overall health standpoint, I feel like I'm okay. But I don't want to keep messing with that because, yeah, the longer you go out and all of a sudden you do have an issue, it's just way more expensive. And I had to fight this a little bit, seeing my mom go through this with her cancer and her passing away from it. There's a little bit of seeing what she went through, and I'm like, why would I want to go through that? Why would I want to know? But it's stupid because if you detect it early, it's way easier than finding it late. But seeing someone go through and suffer in just many, many years. So she was fortunate. She battled it for 14 years. Some people battle it for 3 months, and that's it. So then you're like, kind of the human suffering component is like, man, I'd rather just pass away in 3 months versus 14 years. But think of what all my mom saw in those 14 years, what stages of life she got to see me and my sister and her one grandkid. She only got to see one grandchild. She didn't see the other three. But But going to regular checkups, it's just you have to do it. You want to hang around and be around your family and make a lasting endpoint as long as possible. So again, I'm recording this and publishing this out to the world that and you can check on me, Ben, and be like, hey, did you find a primary care physician to make sure I'm doing that? Because my kids are still young and I want to be around for a while.
Yeah, it's so easy to put off because it's not only just a time thing. It's very inconvenient to go in and sit and wait for a doctor. They're never on time. It's just everything about it is not fun, right? Not enjoyable. But to your point, it's much better than the possible alternative. So taking care of your health will hold you to that in 2024, Ryan. We'll make sure that's a priority for this year. All right. Again, if you have questions for Ryan about any of these items today we talked about, just go to blackoakam.com, or you can call him at 470-508-0508. So Ryan, our getting to know you question today, we're the holiday season, kind of recording this as we talked about, and we like to treat ourselves a little bit, but got me thinking, what's a small thing that makes your day a little bit better?
It's going to sound psychotic, but like my morning routine. I'm a morning person. I'm the exact opposite of my wife, who's not. But I'm a morning person, and I just feel like if I don't have my routine in the morning where I get up, I go exercise, come back, get my kids, not my kids because my daughter's perfectly capable of getting all of her stuff together, but getting my son's stuff together for him, lunch, all that kind of stuff, take him to school, come back, take my daughter to basketball practice in the morning. Like that's just my routine, and then come home and then shower, get ready, and come to work. I feel like if I don't do that, my day is thrown off. I don't like it. Sure, are there mornings where I need to sleep in because practice got over late or a game got over late with my kids? Yeah. So I'm not that psychotic. I need to get some sleep, but if I do not do it first thing in the morning, it's not going to happen because my day gets crazy. My kids have something going on, whether it's a game or practice, just about every day in the midst of basketball season now. So I cherish that morning routine, and I love it. And again, some people think you are the weirdest guy ever, but that's just kind of what's my day. It makes my day line up and usually go more efficient.
Yeah. I know that there's a lot of people in your boat that kind of swear by that routine. I'm not one of them. I can't. I've become I'm a morning person right now because I have a 5-month-old, but not by choice. But yeah, that's it. I'm always like, man, it would be great to kind of have that mindset where I can get up and knock out a bunch of stuff in the morning and get the day started. But man, just haven't been there for me. But I'm glad that works well for you, and appreciate you sharing that. Mm-hmm. All right, let's drop into mailbag and get a question here from Jenny in Ackworth before we get done here. She says, I got a raise recently, and I want to be sure I put the extra money to good use instead of just going out to eat more often. So should I save more money for retirement or use it to pay extra on my mortgage?
Good question, Jenny. That kind of plays into one of the points that we talked about earlier. Jenny, go log into your 401k and put that automatic increase every single year on the anniversary that you change it. It'll change that same thing every single year. But good question, because I'm all about having a paid-for mortgage. You need to balance that out and make sure you're not cash poor in retirement. You may have a paid-for house, which is great, but you may not have any assets to do anything with. So, again, I don't know the complete backstory, what age you're at here, Jenny, and when your retirement date is. But going back to that same book that I mentioned earlier, The Psychology of Money, and I may be misquoting this to some degree, but the guy was talking about paying his house off. Even though he had a super, super low interest rate, like 2-something, back a few years ago when they were that low. And he says probably the worst financial decision I ever made was paying off my house. I'm like, whoa, that's a bold statement. The worst financial decision I ever made was paying off my house. I'm like, okay, what's next? What is going to come out of his mouth that's going to justify or support that statement? But then he says, but the best cash decision I've ever made was paying off my house. So there's a difference there. So financially, you look at, oh my gosh, 2.2%. Oh my gosh, that is that does not exist anymore. It is gone. Is it gone forever? Who knows? I don't think it's going to be around anytime soon because of where rates are at now, but never say never. But a financial geek is going to look at that and go, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. I mean, you can put money into a savings account and earn 4.1%, or a money market mutual fund and earn over 5%. That makes no financial sense. But again, he's a big cash believer and being cash rich. Obviously, he still likes long-term investments, but making the best cash decision ever was to pay his house off. So, Jenny, I kind of leave you with that and say, what side of the fence are you on? Are you going to kind of dissect it from a financial standpoint and try to reason that way, or is it more of a peace of mind? Hey, I can pay extra on my mortgage and be done in a certain amount of time. So there's no wrong answer there. It just depends on your overall situation, how much money you do have in retirement, how much longer you have until you actually are done retiring again, done working in retirement. So it depends. Either decision is not wrong, but there probably is a better decision based off your situation.
All right. Great question, Jenny. Thanks for asking that, and a very good one and great mindset to be having. So we appreciate that. All right. If you have questions for us or Ryan, you can always send them in, blackoakam.com, or schedule your Retirement Coach 360 session on there right now through the website. But you can call as well if you prefer to do that at 470-508-0508. All right, Ryan, very good. Thanks for your time today, and looking forward to 2024 and everything it might have for us in the new year. So take care.
That's right. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you as well.
The Perfect Game Retirement Podcast is brought to you by Black Oak Asset Management, serving the greater Atlanta area with offices in Alpharetta and Macon. The show is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe to the show on your favorite app today and never miss an episode. Just search for Perfect Game Retirement to find us. You can also visit blackoakam.com to listen to past episodes, to contact Ryan Ledden, and to learn more about how to pitch a perfect game in retirement.
Information provided is for informational purposes only.